Hello, welcome to the Running Stitch. Today I have a finished project, I have 2 whips, and I want to share a knitting stitch book that I use a lot that I recommend that maybe you would be interested in as well. And I think this episode will be pretty short because it's almost 2 p.m. and I haven't eaten lunch and I am super duper hungry. So it's going to be pretty short. I'm ready to eat. So I finished the sweater vest I have been working on. It's called Unabridged by Alicia Plummer. And I actually wore this on Monday to work over a white button-up shirt, and it fits really, really well. I super love it. The yarn is Yarnable. It's the which is a yarn subscription box. This was from the January yarn, and when I knit this again, which I will definitely knit it again, it only takes 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn, or I say 2 skeins, so about 200 grams of fingering weight yarn. I'm glad that I knit the 36-inch bust, which I was kind of concerned that was going to be too big, but over a button-up shirt, it fits really well. What I will probably do next time though is a little bit of waist shaping. The waist is straight down, and this pattern is knit from bottom to top. I'll probably do a little bit of shaping right in this area, especially if you're wearing like a button up like this where it's boxy. This works really well because it doesn't like squeeze, your shirt in and cause a bunch of wrinkles. But if you had a more fitted button down, I would definitely do some waist shaping, but I'm very happy with how it turned out. It was super fast, super easy to do. It's like a sweater, but then you don't have to knit the sleeves. So it was really fast. So basically you do bottom to top, and whenever you get to the end, the bottom of the armpit, then you actually then start knitting flat. So you do the back right first, and then you pick up the stitches, do the back left, then you put those on hold, and then you do the front right and left, and then you just join them. You do a 3-needle decrease for the shoulders, and then real quick you do a little bit of neck and arm finishing, and it was that simple. So I highly recommend the pattern. I will put the pattern link below in the in the description below in case you want to check it out. But I am very happy with how that turned out, and it's nice and warm and cozy. And since it's fingering weight though, it's just a really nice weight. It's not too heavy. I wasn't sweating, but most businesses are cold, and I work in a library, so it is chilly, but that kept me in just a really nice temperature all day long. So that's my finished project. I almost have a second finished project. I got my February Yarnable box in the mail just a few days ago. My only knitting goal this year was to learn brioche. And one of the patterns that I wanted to make was one of those cat hats, that has little ears where you kind of stitch little ears. So I believe this is a free pattern, and it's by Dragon Horde Yarn. This is what it looks like. And she calls it the Brioche Pussycat Hat. I'm pretty sure it's free. Don't hold me to that because I don't exactly remember, but I think so. It's a basic 2-color brioche hat that you use fingering weight yarn with, and it's super simple. There's no decreases or increases in the hat pattern, so you just knit it straight up. You Kitchener stitch along the top, and then you take some yarn and just kind of stitch the ears. And I love cats. I don't know if I've ever said that. I super love cats. And so I've been wanting a cat hat for a while. So I got my February Yarnable yarn in the mail, and I thought, might as well start learning brioche. I only did one color. I just used the February Yarnable color. And I'll be honest, it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Well, brioche. Of course, I'm not doing anything fancy right now, and I'm only doing the one color, but the basic stitches aren't near as scary. I did find that I made 2 mistakes, like at the very beginning, and I realized it, but I didn't research how to drop a stitch and fix it, and so they're just going to be there because I'm not ripping it out. And now I'm almost done with the hat, and I don't want to drop a stitch down, you know, like 40 some odd rows. That's just, no, I'm not going to do that. Not with brioche, not when I don't know what I'm doing. So this is the hat that I have so far. I'm almost done. I think I only need to knit maybe like 2 or 3 more rounds. I did something a little bit different. This is fingering weight yarn. I originally, the hat pattern has 3 sizes, small, medium, and large, and which ranges from, it says accommodating sizes 22 to 24 inch circumference. So I originally cast on for the size small with fingering weight yarn. And then I quickly realized a fingering weight hat is going to take me forever, and I don't want to do that. So I pulled it out. I ended up pulling from both ends of my cake to hold it double, so it would be about like DK weight, and I cast it on 88 stitches, which is what I typically cast on for what I like that feels good on my head for DK weight. And I'm using size 7 needles, so 4.5 millimeter needles for this one, and it's fitting really nice so far. And she basically recommends where you knit until it's just the like connects at your head, and then maybe another round or 2 to have just a little bit so they kind of fit snug, and the ears will, you know, like stick up where they're supposed to, like a cat. So I'm almost there, and I am very happy with how this knit up, and it's super squishy. To be honest though, if I was just knitting regular brioche like this, and or even 2 color, I would probably just do fisherman's rib because it's much easier than brioche. But I find brioche beautiful, and with all the designs they can do, I really do want to learn. But if I were to make this hat again, I would probably just do fisherman's rib, since you don't have to do anything fancy. Oh, the cuff, is that what it's called? Yeah, is just twisted rib. But I'm also going to link this pattern to Ravelry below as well, in case you're interested. Isn't it pretty? I really like how this is knitting up. I'm super excited to have my cat hat. I should have it finished tonight, so you'll be able to see that next week. All right, let me get this back in my bag. And my next project, well, something else I also cast on a few days ago is I've knit this before. It's the Voodoo Doll from Susan Claudino. She makes all kinds of knitted stuffies, and her patterns are really awesome. Most of them are seamless. So you know, knit the hands and feet for your stuffy first, and then you do a 3 needle decrease. So her patterns are really awesome. The Voodoo Doll is a little bit different. It's not knit with the 3 needle decrease. You end up adding the arms and the legs on afterwards, but it's still not a big deal. Susan Claudino, she is No Knit Sherlock as well, so you can find her in a couple places. But I made the Voodoo Doll for my daughter at some point last year, so it's called Voodoo you love, and they're just super cute. What I did with my daughters, I gave it a little mohawk or like a little tuft of hair. So I just, I cut like longer pieces of yarn and use a crochet hook and just like knotted them up so they would stick up. Turned out really, really cute. And she has it upstairs. But I've made several of her stuffy patterns. I've made 3 frogs, which are just really, really cute. All that were gifts. And I made her Bonbon Bunny, which I think is probably one of her most popular designs. A lot of people make Bonbon Bunny. I made that for my youngest daughter. Bonbon Bunny knits up so fast. Really, really fast. So if you... perfect for like a baby gifts or little kid gifts, because you can make it more boyish or girlish or whatever. I made this Voodoo Doll, the first one I made for my older daughter, and I used a like purple teal, it was kind of a mermaidish yarn, and looks really cute. Cannot recommend her patterns enough. They're all awesome. So my brother's birthday is March 14th. And he's 41, is that right? Yeah. And so I'm making him a stuffy. He's getting a Voodoo Doll, and let me pull this out. I haven't really gotten very far at all, because as soon as I started on the Voodoo Doll, I got my February Yarnable box, and so I casted it on. Okay, so for this, I'm just using white, regular, undyed yarn. Uh-oh. Oh no! I was hoping that needle wasn't holding stitches, but all right, hold on just a second. Let me get all of these back on. Okay. So, you may be thinking, why in the world are you making a Voodoo Doll for an adult male? Because I think he'll really like it. So the reason why I'm knitting with white yarn is my brother has a lot of tattoos. And so I thought it would be really cool to put tattoos on the Voodoo Doll. And obviously I'm not going to be able to replicate any of that he actually has, because they're all very detailed. But you know, I can make a generic heart with like maybe an initial over it. I was thinking I could do the double stitch, which you just take a tapestry needle and your yarn and you kind of like stitch over, or no, it's called, I'm sorry, a duplicate stitch, and where you stitch over your existing, the V's in the knitting to create a design on top of it. So I was thinking I could do that to make it look like it had tattoos. And someone recommended to me to see if I could stamp tattoos on it. So I'm going to look into that too, to see what kind of ink would actually maybe hold on the wool after it was done, because I really like that idea. And I'm going to make him really kind of creepy as much as possible. I was thinking one of the legs would stay detached, but it would be loosely attached with just like a whip stitch on the yarn, so it would be kind of dangling. And I was thinking an arm, I could make it look like it had been like cut off. So this little arms, let me show you a picture. So it has a hand, and I was thinking instead of, you know, making the actual hand part, start knitting it just from the arm up, and then maybe the first couple of rows I would knit it red before white, so it would look kind of bloody and kind of really voodoo and kind of creepy-ish. So those are kind of my ideas. I'm definitely going to give it some sort of hair, and I was thinking, I've started playing around with polymer clay. I've been kind of working on to see if I could get some polymer clay stitch markers in the shop, and it's going really well, but I don't want to put them in the shop until I am 110% happy with them, and I've been at like that 95% happiness, and so they're just not quite ready. But I was thinking it would be really cool to make a polymer clay like arrow and see if I could like stick it through its head. Anyway, so just like, I'm super duper excited because not only am I, you know, knitting and making something fun, but the creativity behind it to make it unique for my brother and something that an adult male might actually like. A 40-something-year-old man is going to like a doll. And I really think he will dig it. My brother is a phenomenal artist. I wish I had his talent. I have lots of crafty talents. I can definitely, you know, and I'm creative like that, but he is, his painting and his drawings are really phenomenal. Very, very good. He's insanely talented. And I don't know what he could do to, and you know, for a job like that, but I got a phone call in the middle of the night. Oh my goodness. And of course it was spam. I'm pretty sure that happened on my last video too, didn't it? How frustrating. Anyway, so because my brother is also an artist, I think he'll really appreciate this really like wild, crazy voodoo doll. So I cannot wait to share that with y'all. These don't take very long to make, so it's very possible that I'll have it done by the next video or really close to it. Wow, okay, let me let's get this all back in my bag. And I've been, I love this bag. It's become one of my favorites. Not only, I have so much stuff in here. I have my stuffing and I have the project. Have my needles, which are falling out, all the extra goodies. Let me stick all of this in. All right, extra excited about that one. Lastly, I thought y'all might enjoy hearing about a knitting stitch book that I really like. And so I was thinking about making this a regular part of my vodcast, talking about things that I use for my knitting and whatever that might be. And so in this case, this book was recommended to me by a really good friend of mine. It's called Up, Down, All Around. And it says that there are more than 150 stitch patterns, which I believe. There's quite a few. A lot of them are basic. But what I really like about this one is that it includes all around. Basically means it tells you, I'll just show you an example of, okay, so these are super basic. So it breaks it down of how you do that stitch if you're knitting flat and how you do it if you're knitting in the round. And if it's a more complicated design, it will tell you how you knit that design if you're doing a top to bottom or if you're doing it bottom to top. And what makes this book even more awesome is that on the more complicated designs, not only does it write out the instructions for you, it will also chart it. So for example, on this one, you have the flat instructions, you have in the round instructions, and then down here, it is charted as a flat and charted in the round. And then if it's even more, if it's a directional pattern, it will also give you the directions, like I said, top to bottom, bottom to top, and the charted version of both of those. And so this is one of my go-to books if I'm just doing something for myself, or if I want to combine maybe several of the patterns. And this book makes it really easy to do that. So it tells you how many stitches that you need for that stitch, and it also tells you the number of repeats that are necessary. So if you're trying to combine several of the designs, then it kind of makes it easy for you so that you can calculate how many stitches you would need to cast on, or if you're trying to like seriously combine those two, then you would know how many stitches for like that particular repeat, and how many, you know, rows or rounds for the repeat. So this book makes simple designing really easy. So if you're interested in just like designing things for yourself, then it works really well. And the only reason why I say simple is that there are some more complicated stitches or more complicated designs in here, but mostly you're going to get your more basic styles. And it has 8 different sections. So you have knits and purls, and in that you have about 12.5 knit and purl designs included. And then the second chapter is rib knits, and you have about a dozen-ish, maybe 15 different rib knits, all of which are more of the basic, you know, 1x1, 2x2, seed rib. This does tell you brioche rib, and I thought it was kind of interesting that they called it brioche because it's actually fisherman's rib. And then you have textured slips and fancy, which is their word that they use, and by that it means herringbone, your linen stitch, your bamboo. A lot of that is beginner like stitches, which is totally fine, but you know, this will help you like combine stuff, like I said. And then you have a yarn over an eyelet chapter, cable chapter, and it does get into slightly more complicated-ish cables. And then you have a lace chapter, and then it has some basic color work, hems and edges, and then at the very end it actually gives you some patterns and projects to work on. Like for example, this sweater, it has some cowls throughout it. The edgings are pretty cute, especially, you know, if you wanted to do something fancy on the bottom of a sweater. Maybe you're knitting a sweater pattern that you bought from wherever, and you think, oh, I want to make the bottom fancier. And then, so I think that's kind of cool. You can, you know, add in these techniques to a pattern that you buy from somewhere else. What else? Oh, what else I really like about this is in the index at the end, you can also search by the number of stitches that you have, whether that's an even or an odd, or 4, 5, 6, all the way through 20, 24 stitches. So maybe you're designing a pattern, or you're trying to adapt a pattern that you're already working on, then you can just come to the index and say, you know, I have an even number of stitches. What are some of my options? Or, you know, something like that. So I like that because I've used that regularly. If I find, oh, I have this design and it has eight stitches and I want something else to blend with it, what are some of my options? And then you don't have to like flip through the entire book. And there was something else that I really liked about it. And of course, in the back, it tells you all the abbreviations and how to read their charts. Was that it? I guess that was it. So I definitely recommend this book to any and everybody. I keep it over where I knit all the time, just to have it. It's really sturdy. It has a hard cover and then a spiral, and there are nice thick pages, colored. All right, so and I was actually looking on, I have several knitting books, so I'll review and talk about each one that I have. And then I was there's been a couple that I have found that I've been wanting to buy, and so I'll get those and share them with you after I've used them as well. But I do recommend this. The only part is that it's slightly on the more beginner side. which is not bad, but you won't find super fancy, super duper complicated stitches in here. But it's a great place to start. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. I'm gonna go eat some lunch because my stomach is growling, and I hope you can't hear that. All right, see you later.